والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين أما بعد. We continue 6:52 p.m. Sunday, November the 10th, 2019, which is now, we're still in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal, 14th. Well, this month of Rabi' al-Awwal, 14th night, and on the Hijri calendar, which is the year Am 1441 after the Hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet, final Prophet to humanity, alayhi salatu wassalam. Right, as we continue, Bab al-Nushrah, when we started the chapter, if everyone looks in their books, we said on the authority of Jabir, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سئل عن النشرة, that the Messenger of Allah was asked about Nushrah, and he said it is from the acts of shaitan. It's from the acts of shaitan. Right. As we said, that these chapters are all connected. In some type of way you'll find an affiliation or correlation with the chapters, the one that came before. And we said in regards to magic, when we were speaking about, when we spoke about the chapter in regards to magic, we said that there's going to be chapters that's going to give more detail. These are the chapters that are given more clarification and detail, going into slightly a bit more depth than what preceded. So you'll find that the chapter that we finished, for example, the chapter we concluded before was what came in pertaining to what they call kahana, or kuhan. What is connected with what? What is pertaining to the people who are called kuhan, people who claim to have knowledge of the unseen. It is comprehensive for all of those who claim to have, for those who have knowledge of the unseen, whether they be people who read palms or look inside of teacups and try to speak about events that's in a person's life or predicting certain affairs, all those matters that we covered. But all that is a type of what? We said it's connected to magic some type of way. Especially in regards to those when we were speaking about Munajjimun who are called, what are they called? Munajjim. Munajjim is like a what? It's like an astrologist. An astrologist. We also talked about how Tanjim, or Munajjim, that's pertaining to magic. It's pertaining to magic. And those who use the shayateen or receive their news from the shayateen, all these affairs are connected in some type of way, where they're connected with sihr, pertaining to magic, or what have you. Similar to that is what we spoke about from last class. If you notice in your books, it's called Bab Ma Ja'a fi Nushrah, the chapter which comes in the affair called Nushrah. As you'll find the correlation in what is preceded, that the great Imam Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah, in the previous chapters he was talking about sihr, magic. We talked about the different types of magic and how magic is more general than what certain people might think. Some people think it's just pertaining to what is illusionary, or was pertaining to using the shayateen to hurt or harm an individual. But we said that it's a little bit more broader than that. It's a little bit more expansive than what people might think. It's more broad. For example, what I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, in regards to Tanjim, what they call one being an astrologist and trying to predetermine certain events that take place in one's life based upon the positions of the stars. All that's part of magic. All that's part of magic. all that's considered sihr, even though one might not think. But we talked about, and also the upcoming lessons that's going to come, how the Messenger of Allah made this from what? Magic. Where the Messenger of Allah said, من تعلم شعبة من النجوم فقد من تعلم شعبة من النجوم فقد تعلم شعبة من السحر زاد ما زاد. That whoever learns some type of branch of the stars, meaning learning positions of the stars in order to determine what takes place on the earth or takes place in individuals' lives, then he has learned a branch of magic. The more he increases in the knowledge of that, the more he increases in magic. Zada ma zad. So it's not just pertaining to one doing what they call prestidigitation, or certain people use their word in their khutbahs, not knowing what it means. But anyway, it means wavery of the hand or trick of the hand or sleight of the hand. Prestidigitation. The people listen online will know what I'm talking about, certain people in Washington, D.C. But anyway, prestidigitation is just called trickery or sleight with the hand, to play tricks on one's eye based upon a magic trick. Certain people think that magic is just pertaining to that, and that's it. That's not. You said even pertaining to learning some knowledge of the stars is also magic. The Message of Allah made that clear. So من تعلم الشعبة من النجوم فقد تعلم الشعبة من السحر زاد ما زاد. So people want to learn affairs pertaining to zodiac signs. All know for sure all that's connected with sihr, all that's connected with magic. But this new chapter is also connected with magic. The chapter which comes in what they call Nushra. Because all these affairs, like we said, are satanic, depending on how one uses Nushra. Because there is some type of Nushra that is permissible, as we talked about, but it's going to come, inshallah. But the previous chapters we talked about Kahana or Irafa, and even affairs that's connected with omens and myths and bad luck. How all these affairs are types of magic. All those things we talked about. They're all considered from the affairs of those who practice what they call sha'wadat, the jugglers who play tricks with their hands, and to so-called entertain people or amaze people by certain things they do. Now we have embarked upon the affair which is pertaining to what they call Nushra, as we talked about. So notice that the great Imam, he said, what comes in the affair of Nushra comes in the affair what they call Nushra, meaning the narrations which either comes in the Book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which indicates its ruling in the Kitaab and Sunnah. The people are in need of this. Why? Because we know that the affair of Nushra is in order to heal someone that's been either afflicted by magic, or one who's been touched by either the shaitan or the jinn, to remove these type of sicknesses. So these affairs are important and very vital for one to have knowledge of, because there are people out there that are afflicted with either magic or one being afflicted with tested by the harm of the shaitan or the jinn. But this whole chapter is now pertaining to what removes it, which removes this type of sickness or affliction. If one has been tested by it, by the permission of Allah. Because we know no one is not afflicted except by the permission of Allah in this dunya. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test one by him or her being afflicted with magic, how do they remove it? So that's what we're speaking about, and that is what the word Nushra means in the Arabic language. And if you want to sum it up, like we said from last class, the meaning of Nushra, Hallu sihr anil mashur, the removal of magic from the one who's been afflicted with it. That's what the meaning of Nushra is. Hallu sihr an al mashur, removal of magic from the one who's been afflicted with it. طيب. As we know, in the Kitaab and Sunnah, magic has been affirmed of its existence. Of its existence. Today? Yeah. I told you not to. No. I said go ahead and use it. You use your phone. Because you can write fast with your phone. طيب. As we know, we affirm the existence. نثبت وجود السحر. ولكن لا نثبت صحته يعني جوازه أو جواز استخدامه. We affirm magic in its existence, not for the what? The practice of it. Being a practitioner of it is haram in the religion, as far as we know, as we know, has been clearly affirmed in the Kitaab and Sunnah. But magic has been well established of its existence and its effect on people. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has affirmed this. The Lord of the heavens and the earth has affirmed that magic does exist and it does harm the people of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows it to harm. However, we know Allah ta'ala has not sent down any type of sickness except that Allah ta'ala sent down its what? It's cure for it. ما أنزل الله من داء إلا وقد أنزل له شفاء علمه من علم وجاهله من جاهله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send down any type of disease or sickness except that He sent down for it its cure. The one who has knowledge of it has knowledge of it. The one who's ignorant of it, he's ignorant of it. Right. Now, what is the cure for the one who's been afflicted with magic? What is his cure? And that is what we're going to speak about, or we talked about from last class. And then we're just going to reiterate some of the things we mentioned. Right. So we said that the whole topic is in regards to what they call nushra. Well, nushra just means to relieve or be utilized as a cure to remove the affliction of magic, or one being touched by the jinn or touched by the shayateen. We said that the word nushra, you'll find that it is used as far as in the Arabic language, the verb nashara yunashiru, tanshira. Nashara yunashiru tanshira. And tanshir or yunasharu just means the removal of someone who's been afflicted with magic. That's all. Yunasharu anhu. For the person that's been relieved of magic, how do they relieve themselves? Or has been afflicted with magic, how do they relieve themselves? Excuse me. As it comes in the authority of Jabir ibn Abdullah, we said that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was asked about nushra or concerning it. He said it's from the acts of shaitan. Right, we said last class, what did we say, everyone? That the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this based upon what took place in Jahiliyyah. How they used to practice nushra. Not based upon what was legislated as far as what was in the boundaries of what Allah sent down as a cure, in which we'll talk about inshallah. But however, the Messenger of Allah mentioned this here, for what reason, everyone? Because a person might think, as soon as they read the statement from the Messenger of Allah, they think automatically that the affair is what? Impermissible, unlawful. This narration of the Prophet ﷺ applies to what was a practice of Jahiliyyah only. What was a practice of pre-Islamic ignorance before the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came with the revelation showing the proper method of how to cure these type of sicknesses. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? So that's what it's applied, or the statement of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, that's what it's applicable for, of what was considered a practice of Jahiliyyah. Because we said all nushar, all practices of what they call nushra, not all of it is haram. And not all of it is impermissible. So that's what we mentioned last class. In summary, we said Imam Ahmed, if you look, as we talked about last class also, it was mentioned about Imam Ahmed mentioned and said in his Rasa'il that he said, or he was asked about this, it's in Abu Dawud, also Abu Dawud related it in his Sunan. He was asked Imam Ahmed about it. He said a statement of the position of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu ardah. He He said, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud yakrahu hadha kulla. The Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, that he hated or detested all of it. طيب. We said here again, this is applicable to what? The impermissible type of practice was pertaining to Nushra. That's what's applicable for. What has in it a polytheism is shirk. That's what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was speaking about. Whether it be a practice or what is considered from the affairs of bid'ah, of an innovative type of use, what has not been sent down by Allah as a cure, or, as we talked about last class, or if it's polytheism, or if it's polytheism, or if it's magic of what is similar to it. Meaning trying to remove magic by some other type of magic. So all those affairs are muharram, in which Abdullah ibn Mas'ud mentioned here. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, as we talked about last class, he said yakrahu or yukrahu. As we said last class, in the origin of the word karaha, as karaha breaks down to two categories. We have karaha at-tahrim and karaha at-tanzih, as we discussed last class. You have what they call karaha at-tahrim. A lot of people don't understand some of the itlaqat, the statements which the ulama used in the past. They think that the word makruh just means detested, or hated, or disliked for one to do, or say, or add. The origin, as we discussed last class, of the word makruh with the salaf was the meaning of it, depending on the context. The origin of it meant something haram. You have to realize that. Because the word makruh, especially during the time of the salaf, when he used it, meant something haram. Unless there was a qareen or an indication that removed it from its original meaning. Is it clear what I'm saying? And I said that, how the word makruh can come in the word haram. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book of Surah Al-Isra, as I mentioned last class. He said Allah ta'ala says in his book, after Allah ta'ala mentioned about killing your children out of fear of poverty, and after murder, and after eating the wealth of the orphan, and to the point where it says in the same ayah of Surah Al-Isra, to also fulfill the scale so the people can receive their due right in regards to what they paid for. And speaking about arrogance, and speaking about affairs that you have no knowledge. وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Notice it says in the ayah, in the same context, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا كُلُّ ذَلِكَ كَانَ سَيِّئُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ إيش مكروها. يعني كل هذه الأمور محرمة. All these affairs, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about all those matters, talking about killing and murder, are these affairs makruh, detested, or are they haram? All haram. All these affairs are impermissible. So after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about being arrogant and boastful and bragful and belligerent, he said in the same context in the ayah, كُلُّ ذَلِكَ كَانَ سَيِّئُهُ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ مَكْرُوهًا. All these affairs are evil, and they're also makruh with your Lord. He said that the word makruh in this context, what does it mean, everyone? Haram. So the word makruh can come in the meaning of the meaning haram. As a lot of people think that it just means detested. No, the origin of the meaning of haram with the salaf was يحمل على كراهة التحريم إلا إذا دل قرين على غيره فإذا جاء القرين فصرفه عن معناه الأصلي فحينئذ ينتقي إلى كراهة التنزيه. For the origin of the meaning of haram, like we said, was what they call karaha at-tahrim, meaning something being haram, unless there's a qareen or an indication that takes it away from its original meaning, where it moves it to the word of it being what? Totally, or what they call karahat at-tanzih, which means it's detested or hated to do something. But there has to be an indication in the context or another dalil or proof to move it from its original what? Meaning. So here, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, look in the context. What we're talking about here, in the context of what you're reading here, we're talking about affairs of either magic or shirk or practices that were not legislated. So as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud mentioned in here, it's something that's pertaining to what is just detested or something haram. He's talking about affairs haram here. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is talking about affairs haram. Shirk is haram. Or bringing magic in order to remove some other form of magic is haram. Can't use magic to what? To remove magic. Is that detested? Or is haram? It's haram. So the meaning of karaha, like we said here, is the meaning of it is haram. Fine. So notice that Imam Ahmed was asked about this, or concerning this, and what did he say? That Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he used a statement from the Salaf, and we know that the Salaf were the Sahaba. And he said that all of this basically is impermissible. But here in this context, we were speaking and saying that the statement of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is applied to what was also what the Messenger of Allah said is from the actions of shaitan, from the practices that they used to do in Jahiliyyah. That's it. So those affairs that they used to use, for example, they used to use affairs of the shaitan, or they would bring another magician in order to remove another magician's magic. Or they would do some type of practice of polytheism, invoking other than Allah to remove that magic. All of that is what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was speaking about here. Just as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, as we talked about in a couple of chapters, maybe a couple of months, no, it's probably a year ago now. About a year ago, where we know Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to also hate, where one would attach to himself or herself a tama'im, those talismans. Whether they be from the Quran or other than the Quran. Whether they be from the Quran or other than the Quran. Now Abdullah ibn Mas'ud detested all of those affairs. That a person try to remove some type of harm by having the Quran attached to them, by them using it, or some other type of formula or some type of reading or some type of spell that was made inside of that talisman, and then one attaches it to his or her neck, allowing it so-called to ward off some type of evil. We said Abdullah ibn Mas'ud detested all of that, whether it be from the Quran or other than the Quran. As we said that the Quran was not sent down for decoration. It was sent down in order for one to memorize it, to worship Allah by it, and implementation of it. Not for the walls to be decorated by it. That's an affair in which was brought to these modern day times by people, and which was something that was not known with the Salaf, that they never used the Quran to decorate their walls with. It was something that was only utilized in order to what? For people to implement in their lives, and to recite and to draw close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by it. Or it was utilized to take away some type of harm by the recitation of it, not by being hung on your wall. By one reciting, and at the same time the one has the i'tiqad, the belief, that the shifa or the cure happens by Allah, not by the mushaf. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? There's a lot of people who think it was by the mushaf. It's not by the mushaf. It's by Allah ta'ala. But Allah made the Quran as a way, legislated way to what? Protect yourself. By the recitation of it, not by it being hung on your wall or being attached to your body. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Fine. So that's what we're speaking about. That's what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud mentioned here. As it comes to the Bukhari on the authority of Qatada ibn, who's Qatada, everyone? Qatada ibn Da'ama as-Sadusi. Qatada ibn Da'ama as-Sadusi. Sadusi. I'll talk a little bit about him later. He's from the Salaf. قلت لابن المسيب, the great Imam Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. Rather, as we know, Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib was from who, everyone? As we say, he's from the Fuqaha al-Sab'ah التي انتهى إليه الفتوى في زمانه. From the Fuqaha al-Sab'ah. I wanted to discuss that today, but we won't have time. We'll do it next class of who the Fuqaha al-Sab'ah were, because you guys need to know who the Fuqaha al-Sab'ah are, who the fuqaha al-sab'a, the 7 people of the scholars of fiqh in Medina. And what do the ulama mean when they say the fuqaha or the scholars of fiqh who are 7? What is intended by this statement? From them is Sa'id ibn Musayyib, the great Imam. And as our brother alhamdulillah told us last class, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, his father was a Sahabi. Musayyib was a Sahabi. Musayyib, his father was a Sahabi, was a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As it says in the narrations, we talked about رَجُلٌ بِهِ طِبْ رَجُلٌ بِهِ طِبْ. He says that a man has طِبْ. As we know, the word طِبْ means cure, or a prophetic cure, or something helpful. طِبْ. But here in this context, it was used for something evil. Those are from the words in the Arabic language, what they call يُرَادُ بِهِ الْأَضْدَادِ. It could be used for something good, or it could be used for something what? Evil, depending on the context and the usage of it in the context. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Tlib. So it says clear in the narration, a man that he's afflicted with tlib. Here it's talking about sihr. A man is afflicted with sihr. But he used the word tlib. So tlib can be used for something good. Or it can be used for something what? Evil, depending on how it's used. Right. We said that these words are used, what they call min bab at-tafa'ul, that it's used for the opposite of its meaning, from bab at-tafa'ul, as we said, from the aspect of what is intended by it for one being optimistic about one's situation, hopeful that they will become what? Cured. For example, the word ladir, when a person is stung by something, ladir, they say salim. سَمَا حَصَلَ لَهُ صَارَ سَلِيمًا بِمَعْنَى لَدِيغًا. That a person that was stung by something, which in the Arabic language would be ladir, ludir, bima'na he was stung or bit by something poisonous, ladir. You'll notice that they use the word salim. Salim means in sound state, good health. Salim. But the person that was stung by something, they use the word for him. They don't say something bad. They'll say the word. They'll use the good word for it, salim. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? They'll use the opposite. What they say, what they use those words, what they call min bab at-tafa'ul, min bab al-fa'al, hoping for their situation that they will become what? Cured by it, and being optimistic. So they use the opposite meaning of the word for one's particular situation. Is it clear what I'm saying or not? I said this last class. Do I have to say it again? For example, the word, as the Prophet ﷺ, the hadith which comes in Bukhari, where the 2 angels came to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, it says one of the malaika, واحد قاعد عند رأسه واحد قدم عند قدمه فقال ما بهذا الرجل قال مطبوب يعني مسحور. As one of the angels said, what's wrong with this individual? What's wrong with this man? They say he's matboob. Matboob means something good. Matboob in its origin, the word matboob. But what was intended by it is mashur. He's been afflicted with magic. But the angels use the word what? They use the word good. Something good, matboob. He's being cured. He's being what? Being cured, of the word matboob means the one that's receiving some type of cure or treatment for their illness. So notice the angels use the word matboob. They didn't say mashur. They could have said mashur, which is correct linguistically in Arabic language, right or wrong? Mashur. But they didn't use the word mashur. They used the word what? Matboob. From the aspect of what they call being optimistic about the situation, and that he will be what? Cured from the illness. So those are the angels that they use the word matboob. So these are from the words that, like we said, if you use them, they could be, what could be intended by is something what? Something what, everyone? Something good or something evil. Jayyid. Fine. We said that Sa'id al-Musayyib, says, أو يؤخذ عن امرأته. The man has been afflicted with magic, or he has now been afflicted with the sickness where he has no desire for his wife. He doesn't have any desire for his wife due to the magic, because of the magic. As we know, magic, from its effects, as we talked about in the previous lessons, what do we say? We said the two words which are called sarf or atf. As I mentioned in that last class, that magic can either be used for sarf or it can be used for atf. It could be used for sarf, meaning it could take one away from desiring their spouse. The magic can affect one to the point where one does not desire their spouse. Right? For example, they don't want to be intimate with them. Or they might not find them attractive in their eyes because of the magic. So as a result of it, the husband doesn't want to be intimate with the wife. Or if the wife is afflicted, she does not want to be intimate with the what? With the husband. That's what they call sarf. Sarf means the removal of something. Then you have what they call atf. Atf means that you now render the person so madly in love until they become what they call, afflicted what they call ishq. Or what they become now, obsessed. The atf. It could drive a person so mad until they become obsessed with the individual. So that's what he said. We know magic can be either used for what they call sarf or what? Atf. Atf means you fall madly in love with the person until you become obsessed. That's also a form of magic. طيب. Notice it says in the context here, which one is it talking about now here, everyone? يُؤَخَذُ عَنْ إِمْرَأَتِهِ. يُؤَخَذُ is used for sarf. So a man, he's been afflicted with magic, or what does it say? يُؤَخَذُ عَنْ إِمْرَأَتِهِ. يُؤَخَذُ. Where now he does not want to be intimate with his spouse or her spouse. So notice it was asked concerning some type of magic or spell. What was the effect of it in the context? Made him not desire his wife. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? You all right? Oh, okay. So he doesn't desire his wife. Notice that the word yu'akhadu, it comes from the word ukhdah. Ukhdah. As I talked about last class, the word ukhdah is a word that is uttered by the magician himself or her. Something that is uttered was a form in the past. Of course, there's other things that they use, but it's like a statement or something that they will utter, which is basically what is intended by the spell that they actually casted upon that person. That's the meaning of ukhdah. Ukhdah with a kha. Ukhdah. 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 No. طيب. So notice it says in the narration, أَيُحَلُّ عَنْهُ أَوْ يُنَشَّرُ. He said, is the person released from it? Or do they practice nushra, where they have another individual come and remove it? Another magician. So notice Sa'id ibn Musayyib, what did he say? La ba'sa bihi. There's no problem with that. Verily what they want by that is rectification. He said, as for what benefits, then that is not prohibited. So what is Sa'id ibn Musayyib here speaking about here? He's talking about all the different types of cures and remedies that's been legislated in the Kitaab and Sunnah. Either what they call al-adwiya al-shar'i, what has been now. So bite your nails, what has been now. Legislated Kitaab and Sunnah from all those authentic supplications, or the ayats that are recited in the Quran, or from what they call adwiyatun mubahatun mujarrabah, yani jurribat hatta urifa naf'uha, or those medicines that have been that has been established, and they've been, of course, by experience, and it's been established by doctors that they truly benefit. So either what has been legislated in Kitab and Sunnah, or what is from those medicines that have been what everyone has been established and proven clearly by the doctors that the treatment of those particular medicines benefit. Those affairs are what? Permissible in order to remove these type of illnesses or sicknesses by either the shayateen or the jinn or magic. Either by the recitation of the Quran, either by the recitation of the Quran, or by those authentic supplications, or like we mentioned, it said what everyone, by those medicines that have been what? Clearly established that they benefit. So, what is from the Kitab and Sunnah, which is plentiful, which we'll get into inshallah in a minute. So, what was mentioned here, that Sa'id ibn Musayyib, or what is applied to his statement, is what is permissible. So the statement of the Prophet ﷺ and the Imam Ahmad, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, that is only pertaining to what is unlawful, and the usage of affairs that are not lawful or permissible, as we talked about. Right here, what Sa'id ibn Musayyib was mentioned in here, that's pertaining to what everyone, those affairs which are lawful in the religion to use, such as the supplications, the ayat in the Book of Allah, and those medicines which are allowed for one to use as long as it's not haram. As we know, the Prophet ﷺ, which has been mentioned in Sunnah Abi Dawood, where Allah Ta'ala mentions, تَدَاوُوا يَا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَدَاوُوا بِالْحَرَامِ. Use medicines or treat yourselves with medicines, of course, of the earth or what have you. تَدَاوُوا يَا عِبَادَ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَدَاوُوا بِالْحَرَامِ. Use medicines, O ibadallah, and do not use as a cure or medicine or treatment with haram, which is in Sunnah Abi Dawud. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So as it goes on in your books, as it says, everyone, حل السحر قال ابن القيم. So the statement of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, Ibn al-Qayyim gives everything concisely here. Brings a concise meaning of everything. He brings all the statements and gathers them together in this one small statement that he made, rahimahullah, rahmatu wasi'ah. Then he goes on to say, قال ابن القيم النشرة حل السحر عن المسحور وهو نوعان حل بسحر مثله وهو الذي من عمل الشيطان وعليه يحمل قول الحسن فيتقرب الناشر والمنتشر إلى الشيطان بما يحب فيبطل عمله عن المسحور. قال ابن القيم, he said, Nushra is the removal of magic from the one who's been afflicted with it. And it is of two types. Read what Ibn al-Qayyim mentions. Huh? I'm going to read it. You see it? There you go. Read it for me. Two types. You with me, Bilal? So now, magic being removed by another magic is permissible? Not permissible. Right, another question. Removal of a tattoo by another tattoo on the body. Permissible? Permissible or not? It is? It is. Covering it, same thing. Removal of a tattoo by covering it with another tattoo. Permissible? That's removal of it. That's permissible. That has some details. Removal by laser, yeah. But when you add in another tattoo to cover it, you're putting on another what? Tattoo. طيب. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. طيب. Magic. I Sheikh made this back in 2002. Sheikh made if you was to remove it with a tattoo by another tattoo, that's impermissible. cannot remove another tattoo, because I heard people ask me this question before. Can I remove a tattoo that I had another man's name on it on my body from a previous relationship before I was Muslim, and his name was on my body, so can I get another tattoo to cover up his name? We say no. You cannot do that. You cannot cover up the name by another tattoo. You cannot do that. However, what is permissible is to have it removed, as long as the removal of it does not cause some type of disfiguring of the skin. If it causes disfigurement or disfigurement of the skin, then leave it alone. Leave it there. But if it's removed by proper methods or proper means, by laser or whatever how they use, the methods they use to have it removed, that is permissible, as long as it does not cause some type of disfigurement of the skin. If it causes disfigurement, leave it alone. But the origin is you cannot have a tattoo removed with another tattoo. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Fine. Similar to that, you cannot remove magic by what? More magic. Not permissible. However, the majority of Ahl Ilm, what they say in regards to now, if it's the magician himself or herself, understand what I'm saying, that they did commit some type of magic on the individual, and the ruler or the authorities bring them in custody, or they bring them into custody, it would be said to that magician specifically that did the spell, remove the magic from that individual. You understand? If you have some type of comb, or you have some type of what? Some concocted that you use, break it, or take it, or remove it from where you have it. You understand what I'm saying? You casted the spell, break it. Break it meaning whatever you use, container, break it, smash it, what have you. Whatever it is. There's a little bit more details in that, but that is what you'll find, the al-ilm that they mention, majority of them. Except, in which I'll bring some more details, inshallah. That is what I'm going to bring. Matter of fact, I'm going to stick to this, I want to confuse you guys. That is the only time you will bring the person who's the magician who did the spell. Will be asked to the person who did it, remove the magic that you afflicted the person with. Him specifically, or her specifically. The person that did it, not another person. Understand? Is it clear? Is it clear or not clear? Break the cup, whatever cup you had tied, because we know the hadith of Bukhari, where the Prophet ﷺ was afflicted with magic. The Prophet ﷺ was affected by magic in his body, not in his mind. Not in his mind, in his body. Is it clear what I'm saying? Where he was afflicted by the magic, by Labid ibn al-A'sam. As we know, the Yahudi who afflicted the Prophet ﷺ with magic, whose name was he's the father of the deviant sects of the Muslims these days. You will say he's the father. People think it's Jahm ibn Safwan or Ja'd ibn Dirham. But if you go back to the isnad of the Jahmiyyah, it goes back to him, the Labid ibn al-A'sam. People think it's Jahm ibn Safwan. Jahm ibn Safwan became before him was Ja'd ibn Dirham. Became before Ja'd ibn Dirham was... No, it was someone before that. Abad ibn Sam'an. Before Abad ibn Sam'an was Talut. And before Talut was Labid ibn al-A'sam. That's the isnad. Number one, you have Jahm ibn Safwan. Then before that, you have Ja'd ibn Dirham. Then before that, you have Abad ibn Sam'an. Abad ibn Sam'an. Then before him, Talut. Then before him, Labid ibn al-A'sam. He's the Jew who did magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. Remember I talked about the hadith al-Bukhari. What did I say, everyone? That hadith was very beneficial. That the Prophet ﷺ, about the two angels that came, and they said he was mashur. until the angels in the hadith actually said who did magic upon him. The angels mentioned his name specifically. The two angels mentioned his name and who did magic upon him. The angel said, Labid ibn al-A'sam. The angels mentioned his name. Who is the father of the devious sects in Islam? People, like I said, think it's the Jabal Safwan, no. Go back. Goes all the way back to Labid ibn al-A'sam, the Jew. طيب. In the same hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, what did it say, everyone? It's in Bukhari. It said, O Messenger of Allah, how is you afflicted with the magic? He said, the Messenger of Allah mentioned the hadith. It says it. Now, that it was due to the Jew where he took, as it said, bimusht, or bimusht. It said, or bimushata, or bimushaqa. One narration said, mushata, fi tal'i nakhli dhakar. في بئر كذا في طلع نخل ذكر في بئر كذا. He said بمشط أو بمشاقة في طلع نخل ذكر. As it says in the hadith that it was used by some type of comb, by the hairs of the comb, which he took from the type of a bomb, the top of the palm or a date palm. Some type of concoction that he used to tie the hair around it. He took it and then he threw it in the well of the bottom of the well, where the Prophet ﷺ described it as it was also very filthy and nasty at the bottom of the well. It was very, very what? It was very, very what? Very had a nasty stench, and it was also what? Very, very what? Disgusting. At the bottom of the well. So he used that to tie it, he formed some type of spell, concocted and threw it at the bottom of the well. Notice in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha, our mother, asked, Ya Rasulullah, hal tanasharta? O Messenger of Allah, did you use nushra? The Prophet ﷺ said, La faqat. أما أنا فقد عافاني ربي. He said, no. As for me, my Lord had cured me. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cured him, and then it said at the end of the narration, that it said, and I said this last class, notice it said it in the narration, however, O Messenger of Allah, will you not inform the people? He said, of course, in order for it not to be what? In order for it not to spread amongst the people this particular affair. What did that mean in the last part of the narration? I said this last class. Jade. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in this last part of the narration due to the fact that the enemies of Islam knew that that magic could affect the Messenger of Allah, or it could affect the mu'mineen. They would use it as a method to harm them. So the Messenger of Allah, in order to remove the harm, he said, do not spread it. Due to the fact that the enemies of Islam might try to utilize it as a weapon or tool to harm what? Either the Prophet ﷺ himself or the believers, or the people of Iman. And they will use it to try to utilize it so they can harm them. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? They would try to use it as a method. Oh, it affect the Messenger of Allah, let's use it. Or it harmed him, then it's more likely we can harm other people with it. You understand? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Fine. So, it would be said to that person, break your magic, break your spell. That individual. Even though some of us say otherwise, that you shouldn't. That you should just stick to what? Just the supplications and the medicines that can be used. I wish, inshallah, if I had time, I'm going to really get into it today. At the end of the day, at any rate, notice it says in the last narration, hold it, read Ibn al-Qayyim. No, to finish where we just continue where you left off. No, Ibn al-Qayyim. Oh, okay, تفضل. Who's Hassan here, everyone? Hassan ibn Abi Hassan. اليسار البصري. No, الحسن البصري. طيب, stay with الحسن البصري. What does it say? The nashir or the muntashir. Who's the nashir? The one removing the magic, and the one it's being done upon to remove it, or the one who's been afflicted. What does it say? He says that both of them will draw close to the shaitan. How both of them will draw close to shaitan, everyone? By the affairs which are not legislated. Until shaitan, the devil, or the shaitan himself will release the effect of the magic. Because both of them they drew close to him by something he loves, which is polytheism, shirk, kufr. As we know, the shaitan loves that you draw close to him by these type of matters, such as, for example, as we talked about this before. We talked about, for example, the shaitan would love, for example, that you purposely pray without wudu on purpose. He likes these affairs. Pray wudu, or pray your prayer without wudu on purpose, and I'll carry you on my back. As you'll find during the time of some of the Sufis, as you find that it has a very, very strong connection to how the people of the past who used to utilize the jinn to allow them to do dirty certain affairs. For example, where they would fly from their country, and this is so-called in the dream that I did not have to make hajj because the shaitan, because in my dream, due to me being from the awliya of Allah, in my dream I went around to the Kaaba and I made tawaf around it, so I had to make hajj. Because in my dream I already performed it. But someone carried me on the back, made tawaf, so I don't have to perform hajj. And all the different types of pathetic, idiotic nonsense that you hear that they say in certain stories. And even certain affairs of shaitan where you find that they'll carry a certain person on their back, take them to a certain place and bring them back. But they'll make the stipulation that you have to do something to what? Draw close to me, such as something of an action which is either considered polytheism or disbelief. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? For example, what you think of something that's disgusting. Take animal dung, put it in there, ripen on the floor, and pray on top of it. You understand? Shaitan loves that you do these acts. So, in regards to that, if one was to do it as a reciprocal, Shaitan will service you. That's the deal. The deal is that you do some type of act of disbelief, or some type of act of kufr, or some type of act that is clearly disgusting. And the Shaitan will reciprocate his service of you. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So you find that these people, if they're involved in these type of acts, know for sure this is the Shaitan making his deal, his ultimatum to that individual. Do this, I'll do this for you. Is it clear what I'm saying? Fine. So now as it says in this narration, he says, notice that the nashir, the one who's doing the actual spell to remove the magic, and the one who's being done upon, the one who's been afflicted, they both draw close to Allah by this act until, notice it says, the shaitan, what does he do? Read in your book, what does it say? He will remove, what does it say? Your book? Huh? فَيُبْطِلُ عَمَلَهُ عَنِ الْمَسْحُورِ. He will remove his what? He will nullify his what? His effect upon the one who's been afflicted. So he'll remove it. So now, as a result of it, who becomes misled? Who increases in disbelief and kufr? Huh? The one doing it and the one who's been being done upon. See, I did it and it worked. Oh, I did an act of shirk, it worked. I did an act of kufr, it worked. I did an act of some satanic, it worked. So how are you going to tell me it worked? Absolutely. Christianity, no doubt. That's a trick of shaitan. Absolutely. I talked about this in the last class. Shaitan will do certain acts to relieve you, to make you think that the act works. For example, what we talked about in the chapter of Ruqya, incantations, where Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, his wife Zainab, had entered upon Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and she used something of a method, of a string, or something she tied around herself in order to have something removed. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud had basically reprimanded her and told her, he said, that what you're doing is from the affairs in which Shaitan, that now, you said to me that every time you use it, that the sickness would subside from she had on her eye, some type of affliction she had. Every time she utilized an affair which was polytheistic in its practice, she said she noticed that the sickness subsided. You understand? She said, well, basically, if I'm doing this wrong, why does it go away? Then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud explained it. He said, that is because every time you use that, you drawn close to the shaitan by something he loves. As a result of it, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said that he removes or takes his what? His hand off of him, plucking that particular spot to make you think, or rather making you feel sick. He removes it and stops doing it. Relieves the pressure. Then when he wants you to do an act of shirk again, he starts to irritate it again. So you can now resort to that what? That polytheistic method to utilize the what? Do it again. Keep doing it again. And to make you be misled, to make you think that that act that was what? That you were doing is actually what? Beneficial, and it's a form of a cure, and it's correct. Is it clear what I'm saying? Also, what Abdul Jalil just mentioned, what he said in regards to people who's Christians or upon Judaism, you'll find that they say, when I left Christianity, and it's different forms of fitna in those regards. Shaitan utilizes a lot of tricks to make people think that what they were upon previously was correct. See, when I left the Muslims, when I came over to Islam, all bad things started happening to me. So, Shaitan in your mind puts in your mind, okay, go back to Christianity where you're comfortable. Huh? When I came over to being a Sufi, when I was a Sufi, they had treated me very well. They married me off to their wives with no problem. They were children, to their daughters. I had good treatment, all this other nonsense. Like Shaitan come to you and say, leave Salafi and go back to Sufism again. Because that's where you found your comfort zone, didn't you? Similar to that, Christianity. Oh man, when I came over to Islam, all I see is bad manners from the Muslims. All I see is haram, bad treatment. Tayyib, Shaitan, what does he say? Find your comfort zone in Christianity, go back to it. Also, sicknesses, same thing. When I left Christianity and I came over, Christianity, I felt I had good health. Now when I became Muslim, all these different things as far as pertaining to Shaitan or afflictions and sicknesses in my body started coming. So now when I go back to Christianity where I found my comfort and I was cured. You understand? Those are all from the tricks of Shaitan, and it can be even utilized as an istidraj and a trap from Allah. One is not careful. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Jayyid. However, the person in this particular narration, what does it say? So, once you now draw close to Shaitan by what he loves, he releases the what? The effect. So you can continue in doing what? What is impermissible. Fine. So then, Ibn al-Qayyim summed it up by saying in the last part, what everyone? النشرة بالرقية والتعوذات والأدوية والدعوات المباحة فهذا جائز. So Ibn al-Qayyim summed it all up by saying the second type of nushrah, what is used by incantations which are legislated, and different types of supplications and medicines that are allowable for one to use. That is permissible. As far as what was used by leaves, and what they say, what was mentioned by Ibn al-Qayyim, as you'll find out from Ahl Ilm that they say, from them is Sheikh Muhammad Aman Jami, that he said, Fi nafsi minhu shay. For example, you ever heard the type of remedy that they use is, they use it, for example, they gather 4 leaves of a sidr, or 7 leaves of sidr, it's green. Then they smash it up between 2 rocks. Then they strike it with some water and they read in it Ayatul Kursi and other ayats in the Book of Allah. Then they tell them, for example, for the person to drink 3 sips of it and to also wash it or bathe in it, and everything will what? Will subside and go away. You'll find even Sheikh Muhammad Aman Jami, he said about this, he said, Fi nafsi minhu shay. He said, for me, he says, I'm real reluctant and hesitant about this. Due to the fact, he said, one of the reasons is, for anything to have a bounded number on it, has to be legislated by revelation. He said it has to be bounded by revelation. If something was enough, he said, why not 6? Why 5? Why 7 specifically? Why is it 7? Why is it 7 papers or 7 leaves? He says, and then read in it Ayatul Kursi. He says that that's a type of ruqya. It's not a medicine. He said, if you want to say, oh, it's a medicine, then why read in it Ayatul Kursi? Why read it in a container of water? And then pour it upon the person, or the person sips it. That's something pertaining, that's not natural medicine. That's something of an incantation, which is only by revelation, by pure revelation. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? He said that due to the fact, this can't be considered medicine. Why? Because we talk about Ayatul Kursi, reciting Ayatul Kursi. Now, if a person just said, take some leaves, smash it up, pour some water, stir it up, or what have you, maybe. But the fact that now that you bring in, read Ayatul Kursi and read it in the container, then make a person drink it, then bathe in it, that has to be by absolute right, not by text. It has to be by text. For example, also what Ibn al-Qayyim that he mentions, that it says, what was narrated upon Ibn Abi Sulaym. There's a narrator, his name was Ibn Abi Sulaym. He says, and what has been narrated by Wahb ibn Munabbih, and they say that it's from the stories of Isra'iliyat. Basically what he would use, Layth ibn Abi Sulaym, he said that they would take ayat, anna ha'ula al-ayat shifa min al-sihr. He said that the person would take ayat from the Book of Allah, they utilize as a cure of magic, that they will recite it in a container of water. Then it's poured. Then a person would take it and pour it above the head of the person that's been afflicted. Then they will read certain ayat in the Book of Allah. That from what you'll find, even the great Imam Sheikh Muhammad Aman, he even mentioned the same thing. He said, "Fi nafsi minhu shay." He said, from what? He said, myself has some type of reluctancy in this. He said, due to the fact there's no text from Kitaab and Sunnah that establishes this of being something that is utilized as a cure. He said, there's nothing you'll find. A person would say, okay, well, it's just medicine, that one could say. He said, if it's medicine, then why recite ayat? Now you have to recite it in the container, recite the ayat, and then pour it over one's head. That has to be by revelation. That has to be by pure revelation. He said there are others from Ahl Ilm say that this is permissible. You'll find that. Sheikh Ibn Baz has said it, but he said, however, this is not medicine. This is something of ayat in the Book of Allah. And saying it in a container and then say it in water and have it poured, that has to be something that's clearly legislated by text. Clearly. Other than that, a person cannot use it. So if I was able to go back to the recording, I would give it to everyone. But at any rate, the great Imam that he mentioned he said that this type of what was married upon Ibn Abi Sulaym, or Layth ibn Abi Sulaym, he said that I'm reluctant of this type of matter, or this type of what? This type of treatment. Due to the fact that he said Why is it bounded as a certain number? That's number one. He said, why is it in it bounded a certain number? Why 7? Why specifically 7? And then, why now read a certain ayat in the container, in the water? Then it's poured upon a person. Then there's other narration says they read other specific ayat in the book of Allah. Then a person sips it, or then a person bathes in it. He said, this has to be something that's legislated by text. Otherwise, it cannot be utilized. It's clear what I'm saying, everyone? He said, فِي نَفْسِي مِنْهُ شَيْءٍ. And then we'll talk about it and we'll stop here, inshallah. That sums up the chapter. But what Ibn al-Qayyim that he mentions here sums up everything. So one wants to know what type of nushra to use. He mentions it in 2 sentences. With shirk or kufr, you can't use it. But as for those supplications, those ayat in the book of Allah, then one can what? Can use it. Especially what happened in the narrations about Jibreel. Of what happened with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud when he read, after his wife, Zainab, radiallahu anha, after she was reprimanded by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and he ripped it off of her. I think the type of attachment she had on her body. He says, وَآلَ ibn Mas'ud مُسْتَغْنٍ أو مُسْتَغْنٍ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ. And he took it off of her. Then he said, if you want to be cured from your sickness, then read and say this. Then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud read the narration of the dua. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَذْهِبِ الْبَأْسِ رَبِّ النَّاسِ إِشْفِي أَنْتَ الشَّافِي لَا شِفَاءَ إِلَّا شِفَاءُكَ شِفَاءٌ لَا يُغَادِرُ سَقْمًا. That's the whole narration of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. That whole one when his wife Zainab was afflicted with that sickness, and he seen that attachment on her body, he took it off, he ripped it off. And he said that dua. He says, now if you want to cure yourself, say this. أذهب البأس رب الناس اشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاءك شفاء لا يغادر سقما. Or the narration where Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam came to the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wassalam, and he said, are you, he says, Tu'ani min as-sihr, Jibreel said, are you sick? Have you been afflicted with magic? Prophet said, yes. So Jibreel said to him, Bismillahi arqiq min kulli da'in yu'dhik min sharri kulli nafsin wa aynin hasid wallahu yashfik Bismillahi arqiq. So that's what Jibreel said to the Prophet. He said, in the name of Allah, I give you an incantation, arqiq, ruqya. Bismillahi arqiq min kulli da'in yu'dhik min kulli sharrin wa aynin hasid wallahu yashfik Bismillahi arqiq. So that's what shaitan, when the Prophet ﷺ was sick, and Jibreel had read and said this dua upon the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. So, and after that, the Messenger of Allah became better. All these are different methods to show that these are the type of ways that one, if they was afflicted, they would use these type of supplications. The origin of the asl of it, everyone, if you're able to read it upon yourself, read it upon yourself without you asking someone to do it for you. Is it clear what I'm saying? That's the reason why I'm saying that. For those who enter paradise without a reckoning of account, what does it say, everyone? الَّذِينَ لَا يَسْتَرْقُونَ لَا يَسْتَرْقُونَ وَلَا يَتَطَيَّرُونَ وَلَا يَكْتَوُونَ وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. Those who enter paradise on a reckoning of account, what the Prophet ﷺ say? Those who do not seek to have a ruqyah done, الَّذِينَ لَا يَسْتَرْقُونَ وَلَا يَكْتَوُونَ وَلَا يَتَطَيَّرُونَ وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. They don't seek to have an incantation done. So the origin, if you want to do ruqyah or nushra, is to read upon your what? Yourself, if you're able. Or if the individual came to you and said, I'll do it for you, without you what? Asking. Is it clear what I'm saying? If they come to you and they're saying that if I want to aid you, just baba ta'awun with i'ana, I want to do an incantation for you to aid you. That's something different. But the origin is that it's detested that one does not what? Acts. Is it clear what I'm saying? And it's even detested that a lot of Muslims don't know this, that you ask an individual to make dua for you. Yes, you should not do that. That's from Bab as-Su'al. Min Bab at-Tasa'ul, what they call al-Mas'ala, or min Bab as-Su'al, or Tasawwul. It's from the aspect of begging. One should not ask for some individual to make dua for you. You shouldn't do it. La yabaghi. You should not do it. It's the origin. A lot of Muslims do this, but they don't realize that you shouldn't do it. When certain people do that to me, of course, I have good thoughts for them. Depending on the situation, I'll tell them. I say, you shouldn't do that. But it depends on certain situations, I won't, because due to the fact that the situation might not necessitate for me to advise them in that particular moment. But I'm saying it now. Understand, everyone? That the origin is that you should not ask someone to make dua for you. All you have to do is do your research, you'll find it. What Al-Ilm say about this? Whether it be Sheikh Hamzah, Sheikh Salih Fawzan, even mentions the exact same thing I'm saying now. He says you should not ask people to make dua for you. But if they say it, they say, for example, they say, I'll make dua for you, that's something different. But you asking, you shouldn't. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Tafadal. Forgot? He said the statement of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. He said that he used the statement Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said all of that was deemed to be unlawful by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. That's it. He said the statement Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. You should not ask a person to make dua for you. You should not make dua for you. You not ask a person to make dua for you. Say it again. What was the example again? That's something different. I'll have to research that. Allah, I'm going to research that. But I know the origin is that you should not say to a person, make dua for me. You shouldn't. That's the origin. But as far as a reciprocal for a person that gives you something, to ask them to say that, Allah, I have to check that. Person might show you, say I'm sick. Or they might tell you that I think I've been afflicted with magic. Or what have you. Might tell you. He said, I think I've been afflicted with magic and the symptoms were such and such and such. Once they made it clear to you, then from the aspect of aiding your Muslim brother, you say, I'll read over you, or I'll do ruqyah for you, without you asking. Right, mm-hmm. If the person is weak in Iman, then that person should rectify his Aqidah. But the first thing you'll find that they say that's the whole origin. But the origin of the asl of why these affairs work is because your Iman is strong. So the individual who's been afflicted with magic has to strengthen their Iman. Because the only way it works is by your Iman being strong. That's the reason why these affairs have an effect. And if you look to if you read the books, they say that the person who's doing the incantation or doing the actual cure and the person who's being cured has to have a strong aqidah that it's going to work by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. And if they don't, then more than likely it might not work. And that might be one of the reasons why you will never see the effects of it at all. So they have to have strong iman. That's from the prerequisites in order for it to truly work. And Allah knows best. Allah, tafadal. I'm glad you asked that question because that was real important. So if a person wanted to be, hold on. So the person that wants to be cured, that is one of the prerequisites. That the iman and the aqidah has to be strong, the one who's doing it and the one who's being read over. That they have to have the strong conviction and belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cure them and that the cure happens by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. Or else the cure might not work. It truly might not work. And I'll talk about whether or not you can use a ruqya on a kafir. There is a ruling saying that you can. I'll talk about it later. Father, yes. I found a book, I was reading a book by Sheikh Rabir called the Ruqya Al-Shar'iyya that he wrote, and he said that you can use a ruqya, a recitation of Quran for a person that's been used or had magic, or he's been afflicted by the jinn, by reciting the Quran on them, and I'll talk about that later. Father. There is symptoms. Should I get into this today? We'll save it for next class. So what's the symptoms? Because we got to wrap up. Because it's getting late. Well, from the symptoms there is symptoms, but I don't want everyone to now start having hallucinations and thinking that something might happen, that they want to blame it on magic, or they're the first to blame it on the ayn. Because you'll find that there are people out there that want to blame these affairs first. That certain things happen in my life because of the ayn, or somebody did magic, or what have you, unless it's been clearly established. A certain individual might come and say it to you, or, like we said, if this affair where you've used everything or every avenue to cure yourself, even medically, you see it's not working, nobody can find it, mysteriously nobody can find this cure for whatever's happening to you, then maybe inshallah you will resort to thinking that it might be what? Symptoms of magic. For example, a person, he used to be madly in love with his wife, finding her attractive all today, then all of a sudden, whoosh, done. You understand? Then it goes on for a long period of time. In that case, probably, like we said, we don't say 100%, could be a symptom of what? That you've been affected with magic. Could be. So that in that case, you probably will what? Resort to what we just mentioned. Read it and see what happens. And if usually a person that's been afflicted with a jinn, they usually cannot read the ayat of the Book of Allah. That's some of the symptoms. They can't even read it. Rather, you'll find a person been afflicted with jinn or been afflicted with the jinn, they flee away from the Book of Allah. They can't even tolerate hearing it. They can't. So if you find that that's some of the symptoms, that could be a reason that individual or that person is afflicted with magic. There's a lot of symptoms. But I don't want everyone in this room to now think that everything that's going wrong in their life, the first thing they want to blame is the ayn. My car's got a flat tire. Man, that's the ayn. My car, everything is the ayn. Everything now has become the ayn. The ayn, the ayn, the ayn. Yeah, it could be from your sins. It might be your sins, your dhunub. Might have caused you to be tested. Everybody wants to blame everything on the ayn. Don't be so quick. No, they didn't want to bring wudu with it. I think you did it. Make the wudu, put the water from the wudu in this, and so I can pour it over myself. Because we know that's a form of cure. The Prophet ﷺ made that clear. But hey, I want you to make the wudu so I can pour it on myself. So be very careful, brothers. Do not start blaming everything on the ayn. Could be, like I said, because it's sins. And use different avenues and aspects. If you think it is the ayn, to read some of these supplications on yourself. It's better than you to start to now ask people, please recite the Quran on me, or recite something on me. The origin is that you do these things for yourself first. That's the asl. Even when I was overseas, I heard this from Sheikh Abdullah al-Bukhari. He mentioned it. He said the origin is you do a ruqya upon yourself first, if you're able. If you're not able to recite the Book of Allah, then do you take other measures because you can't recite it or whatever. But the origin is you do it upon yourself first. That's the asl. Is it clear? So you won't fall into what they call su'al. You won't fall into negation of tawakkul, of complete tawakkul, not negation of tawakkul, of complete tawakkul. If you want to complete your reliance on Allah, then you would do it upon yourself without asking. Because of asking is negating the completeness of your reliability and your trust in Allah. Not in negating it totality. Okay, everyone, I want nobody to think you negated your trust in Allah. No, that's not the meaning. Meaning you've negated the kamal of tawakkul. The completeness in his what? In your reliance on Allah. Is it clear? Jee. Father Ahmed.